We are loud, we are proud, and we have a Pride-tastic show for you.
Today, the four of us are here, and we will share with you our fondest memories of our past Prides.
And from GLAAD, Monica Trasandes talks to us why it is vital to the community to keep the Pride spirit alive with accurate representation in the media.
And journalist Miguel Sirgado reminds us of the fight that most continue as members of the community. All that and more right here on
The Q Agenda.
We know how sad it is that most Pride parades for the year have been canceled. So we wanted to relive some stories from previous Prides to keep the spirit alive. Guys, what are some of your favorite Pride memories?
Well, I think it depends on what rating can we give on the show. It's going to give rated. Is it
It's
PG,
so
13?
true.
That's true, actually.
I love that Prides are sort of what you make them, right? Your very
For sure.
first Pride. I would know I was overwhelmed when I saw all the rainbows and the people that looked like me. I was just hiding in the crowd, and I thought it was insane. I didn't know. I didn't realize that it was a really cool celebration of like all the stereotypes sort of like owned and made fun of and put back in people's faces, and political and powerful. I had no idea. I just thought it was like a crazy experience.
I was 15 for my first Pride, so for me it was a little overwhelming, especially since I think at the time I was kind of coming into myself, of course, at that age. So to me, it was kind of weird that like people were like, yeah, because I had a boyfriend at the time. And I was just like a little overwhelmed, but it's kind of crazy to see kind of the evolution already of like the Prides since then. And that was only a couple years ago.
You're now 17, right?
I'm now 17 years old. But yeah, I've had so many memories, and I think some of them are a little out there.
I think for me, it would have to be probably Pride last year, specifically World Pride, and it was the 50th anniversary of Stonewall. So it was just a huge, like just love-filled experience. And for me personally, to also be able to invite my mom and have my mom there, it was her first time at a gay bar ever. Thanks to the Stonewall for making her feel comfortable. But yeah, it was massive, and the amount of love and the amount of people in the streets. I will say, as glamorous as standing on a float sounds, it's not.
It's not.
That's true. I actually, you know what, guys? It just reminded me, last year I was on a float for LATV. And it was the first experience. And that's right, when they tell you that it's glamorous or it's great to be on a float, it's insane because it's long hours and under the sun. But the thing about Pride is that once you walk in, it's intoxicating.
Yes.
People are just so happy. And again, to Juliana's point, when you start thinking about the work that has been done and the stone walls and everything, for us to have the benefit to be able to walk in and celebrate who we are and embrace the community, to me, that's what it's all about.
I think another beautiful part of it is that you're not only surrounded by your community, but you're also surrounded by people who aren't in the community who are there to support you.
For sure.
So just seeing both sides being just in the same mindset of supporting and loving, it just makes it even more special.
Absolutely.
And I know, like, when Stonewall happened, you know, it's easy for us to forget why we're celebrating Pride.
Yeah.
But even then, it was shocking for me to find out that women who weren't wearing 3 items of feminine clothing could be thrown in jail into a paddy wagon. Your names would be published in the newspaper if you were found to be homosexual, if the police raided your bar, your club. There's so much oppression where Pride started. Pride started as a protest, and now we are so privileged because it is a party, but in the same way we still have our grassroots activists and people, everyday people who are still fighting for things we need. We're not overtly discriminated that we will go to jail if we're dressed in traditional masculine clothing, but we still have a long way to go. So it's important to balance the party with the reality.
Definitely.
I didn't even know that.
Oh, I know you just showed up. You're like, oh, this is
The more you
fun.
know.
The gays did it back then.
How do you guys suggest that this year, well, we will be bringing content to everybody, to our viewers to enjoy, but how do we make this year, with all the limitations that we have, extra special?
I think one thing, all these organizations and companies who, you know, allocate funds specifically for Pride Month, to show their support of the community, I think they should definitely consider, you know, funding those funds to LGBT organizations still, even though they're not going to be using them per se to, you know, get customers in their stores because we can't do that because of quarantine.
Great idea.
But I think for sure companies should consider still allocating those funds properly to the LGBT community.
I think even to like what Liana was saying, in terms of like, I think this is the perfect time to really get to know what the meaning of pride is, just from even learning that fact about women who needed like 3 items of feminine clothing. I think this is the perfect time now that we can sit at home and do our research to really figure it out. Because for me, I obviously have more research to do, and I'm sure that people that are kind of growing up now and don't know their history, you know, this is the perfect time to really,
Or her story.
you know, yeah, exactly, to really like get to know your history.
Well, yeah, there's certainly some great stories. When we come back, Monica Trasandes from GLAAD will be with us, so don't go anywhere. Monica Trasandes is the Director of Programs, Spanish Language, and LatinX Media at GLAAD. Liana had the chance to speak to her exclusively for the Q Agenda, so take a look.
Monica, where are you right now in the world? Where are you calling us from?
I'm in West Hollywood. I'm in my home in West Hollywood. Yeah.
Great. I didn't know because I know GLAAD has 2 offices in New York and LA. Is that right?
Exactly. Right. We've got most of our staff is in New York, but a lot of us are here in LA.
Is there a friendly rivalry between you guys, the cities?
No, we love each other. We love each other. There's no rivalry. There's no rivalry. We try very hard not to hurt their feelings when it's 20 below or something like that, and we're like in short sleeves and stuff like that. We try to put on a sweater or something so it kind of looks like we're with them in spirit. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much for being here, Monica. This is my first time doing an interview over Zoom. It's a new world we are in, but thank you so much for being here.
Yes, it is a new world, isn't it? I know
it is. It is. Well, I wanted to ask you about a little bit about, tell the audience what it is you do at GLAAD and how you came into that position. And
Yeah, absolutely. I work with Spanish language and LatinX media at GLAAD. So that means that over the years, it's meant reaching out and trying to inspire folks in the news area and also in entertainment in Spanish language and Latinx media to do more LGBTQ inclusive work, right? Explaining to them the incredible importance of including LGBTQ stories in Univision, Telemundo, all the big important networks that are our networks, our Spanish language networks, right? They have a special place in our hearts and in our cultures, right? Because they speak our language. And I know for me, growing up as a kid in San Diego, we used to watch Univision all the time, thinking, like it was a little bit of Uruguay, even though it was, they never showed Uruguay because Uruguay is thousands of miles away and it's tiny. But we were just like, it was it was like, in a way, like being home again or like connecting to our culture. So I work with networks to help them understand that there are LGBTQ people all over the Latinx communities in this country and also in Mexico, Central America, and in Latin America. And they want to be included in the stories that you see on Univision and Telemundo and Azteca and the different networks. But we also work with entertainment. So we work with creators, writers, producers, now, in this country, but also all over the world with Netflix, with different platforms, with helping them tell stories, right? Helping them tell the best possible, most awesome story they can tell. Because we know that when people learn a lot of times who LGBTQ people are through media, right? They learn who we are by watching films, by watching news programs, by reading about us, and media has an incredibly important role in our culture to let people know who we are as a community, because a lot of times they don't know that much about us.
Exactly. And we don't know that much about ourselves sometimes until we see ourselves reflected even in art and media. But it sounds like you have almost 2 challenges before you. You have like this basket here of Spanish media who already know a little bit about who we are halfway. And so then we have another basket over here of people, not only do we have to educate about what it means to be Latinx, but also about what it means to be LGBTQ. So they're like 2 different challenges, it almost sounds like.
Yeah, it can be. It's true. It's true. Sometimes, we're sharing our stories with lots of different types of communities. Our own community, our own LGBTQ community, as Latinx people, as immigrants. There are a lot of stories to share within our community, and then outside of the community with media. And yeah, it's an honor to be able to do this work. It's really amazing work. It was really great. I was a journalist and a magazine editor for many years. So I was on the media side, not on the activism side. And then when, somebody said to me, GLAAD works in Latin America and it works with Mexico. And I was like, wow, that would be amazing to be able to have an impact there and to do that kind of work. Because, for me, the power that media has to create a better life for people is very clear, right? So like when people see media, learn about us, their prejudice, if that helps their prejudice diminish, then how they act at home every day with their kids is going to be better. How they treat their kids to treat other kids who might be LGBTQ at school will be better. They'll be more informed, right? So if they understand how hurtful bullying is, for example, they'll teach their kids who maybe are gay or bi or trans or lesbian, to be more respectful. To love themselves and to stand up for themselves, and we'll support them more. But also the people who have kids who are not LGBTQ will say, hey, it's important for you to respect and to be an ally, right? So to me, to be able to do that kind of work that helps people change how they feel, GLAAD we say we change hearts and minds, is really amazing. It's a gift to me.
When we come back, more with Monica, so don't go anywhere.
As a person that writes myself and develops myself, how is it that people approach GLAAD when they have a character that falls into this sort of intersectional vein? They come find you and you can help be a consultant on the show, or like you said, you can see something offensive and then make a phone call. Is that sort of the two ways that this works?
Yeah, exactly. And it started with the latter. I think for years I would call and go, oh, you know what are you thinking? And just call and say, oh my goodness, that was really not accurate or right. You got, there are so many problems with that. Let's talk, please, let's talk. And sometimes it wasn't please, let's talk. Sometimes it's been, we raise our voices, we're the watchdog. And over the years, I've been at GLAAD since 2008. So there have been many times when I had to say, no, that is not right. What you did is terrible. And generally things are not terrible. And again, most people are trying to do their best, but sometimes they really get it wrong. And it's our job to call it out. But a lot of times it's just like, well, do you know that it would be great for you to have inclusive? Now it's more like it would be great to have inclusive characters, because also our communities are more and more and more open. More and more studies that GLAAD has done. We do this study called Accelerating Acceptance, which is awesome. And it shows that more and more LGBTQ, more and more people out there in all the different communities are coming out and saying, I am not strictly cisgender or heterosexual. And so it's beautiful. Things are evolving, right? Our societies are evolving and opening up. And so we talk to media and we say, look, you obviously want your movies and your TV shows to reflect that. And they say, yes, we don't know how, so then we help. So a lot of times, the ideal is when a creator comes to us at the very beginning and says, I have an idea, because then we can help them work it through and throw out ideas and share and say, well, that's a great direction, but what about that direction or that? And it's a lot of fun. When we go to writers' rooms, it's really fun, because then you can see their excitement when they're like, oh, we didn't even think about that story angle or that story angle, or we connect, as GLAAD, we will connect people from the community with the writers and the producers so that people can tell their stories to those people, so that it's much more authentic, right? And it's much more, comes from a very organic place.
In the age of the internet, like the internet, I don't know if you know, is the most quote unquote, and I hate using this word, but for the expediency sense of for the nature of what I'm talking about, the internet is very woke. Like the internet is like the land of the wokeness, like out-woking almost, you know what I mean? So as a thought leader, which is what I would describe you as, you're out front, you're making these opinions, you're saying these things. Do you have like a million thoughts running through your mind of like things that other people might criticize you for? Or how do you get over that to just represent the community as authentically as possible?
That's a really good question. Thanks for having me on the show, by the way. This is awesome.
I'm also on a show like that.
I do also help people learn how to do interviews. That's part of what the work that GLAAD does, is help community members, because when we go around saying to reporters, you have to tell more LGBTQ stories. When they call me and say, Monica, I need a story, we have to have people who are ready. So we have definitely done a lot of trainings around the country at different, we go to different cities, or we now more online. However, we want to get people ready to tell their stories, right? And it's not that easy. And I had to learn all this from my colleagues too, because when I first started, I would get very, very nervous, and I would be thinking about all the things that I could say wrong. And it was like, you know, you get very, like, your eyes get big and you're like, ah. And so I had to learn the techniques of just knowing, you know, thinking about what you want to say ahead of time, of course, you know, really thinking through, I'm going to do an interview because I want to reach people. So what do I want to say? What do I want to make sure that I don't forget to say? What am I passionate about, right? So focusing on that, and then just using different techniques to not be nervous, breathing and different exercises and different things that we all learned at GLAAD over time, and then from specialists on how to, you know, how to do the best interview possible. Because it's very stressful sometimes. It can be stressful, but everybody can learn how to do it, I swear. If you want to do media, call me or reach out to me at GLAAD.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Monica. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure.
It was smile. Like, we have to have you in the studio because I don't think this does you quite justice. So please come back. All right.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
You too. I hope to see you around.
I hope so too. Take care. Happy Pride, everyone.
We can all definitely agree that GLAAD's doing some fantastic work for the community. But when we come back, we will be chatting with journalist and former editor-in-chief of Hola magazine, Miguel Sirgado.
Cuban-American journalist Miguel Sirgado has worked with some of the biggest publications in the market. To his most recent credit is former editor-in-chief for many years of Hola magazine. Today, he is taking a break from reporting on royalty, glitz, and glamour to talk to us about the importance of not sleeping in on what's happening with our community. Check it out.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about you and your background. How does a little boy from Cuba ends up taking over New York? Tell me a little bit about your journey and about being a proud and open member of the LGBTQ community.
Well, you know, I'm Cuban. I'm not that little boy anymore. Look at my whites. But yes, it's been a journey. It's been a very interesting journey because I went to school in Cuba. I went to school for arts. I mean, like, my major is art history. So when I left Cuba, I gotta reinvent myself. You know, this journey is about reinvention, basically. So I've worked for a lot of interesting magazines. I guess my reinvention was most towards journalism, media. So, you know, I've been trying to use my positions to, like, talk about topics that are really important for Latinos, for LGBT people, you know, us as a community. So yeah, you know, my recent work with Hola magazine, I worked also for People in Español, and you know, I think you got an obligation with your community, so you have to speak about the issues that have to do with us.
You feel that it was harder as a Latino to be taken seriously? Did you feel like you have to go an extra mile for it? And then on top of that, being part of the community, did you feel that it was an added on challenge?
You do have to do, you have to. I mean, when you come to this country, you come. I mean, at least I'm talking. I mean, for myself, first of all, it's a different language, it's a different culture. So you really have to make readjustment, culturally, linguistically. I mean, like, there is so many things that you have to learn on the run. You know, I sometimes I said to my friends that, you know, maybe it's a privilege to have been born here because you understand the system. But when you come as an adult, as I did, I mean, I came to this country when I was 20. I mean, I left Cuba when I was like, I would say 17, but I got to the States when I was actually not 20, in my late 20s. You do have to work. I mean, you have to learn on the run. That's, you know, or because the other thing is that you don't want to get trapped in one community. You come in here, you want to live your life as an American, as a proud American, but also you're a Latino and you're gay. So it's a complicated thing, but I'm proud of what having that in mind, you can work your way out.
How do you find the evolution from when you first started on being able to cover LGBTQ content to where we are today? And have we progressed or are we still way behind?
Definitely, I think every day is a day of progress. You can see our community represented in a lot of media. When I got here, representation wasn't really a choice. It was the beginning of the 90s. So things started to change. I think a lot of the big movement of the end of the 80s were important, were like really starting to catch up. And, I've seen a lot of evolution. I mean, of representation as gay and Latino proud member of the community. You see, visibility is important, and I think you can see more of that in media today. Also, the landscape of media itself has been changing so much. Before it was complicated to get to print. Now, you have your platform. You can talk about your issues. And you cultivate your audience in a very more curated and personal way. So I think that amount of voices that you see today are important to give us visibility. And I'm really proud of that.
Well, Miguel, thank you so much for spending this time with us. It's been a delight to catch up with you. Can't wait to see all the future endeavors and content that you will be bringing to us. And have a great Pride.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Miguel, for reminding us that the work must continue and for joining us. For more on today's show, check out latv.com and we will see you soon. Bye.